of the people on the show, and he made some very he made a very profound statement. He said that if
have to look at him sideways.
Yeah, he's a little, because I mean, I get the impression he's has a preference for white women, but
until we see his record of women he's dated, we can't say he just happened to marry a white woman. We're gonna say, I'm gonna say that's his track record. He's probably, like you said, he probably likes white women.
Like Jamie Foxx too. He's another one.
Jamie Foxx, but didn't he?
No, Jamie Foxx's daughter is,
and his first daughter too, right?
Both of his daughters have white mothers or something. But anywho, let me stop judging, folks. That's what I believe I heard, but I'm not positive. But so Wayne Brady made a really, important statement when he said that if you don't get validation, just like we were talking about last week, validation, how important it is. If you don't get validation from men, as a woman, at some point, that's going to matter to you. And, how you're perceived and your sexuality and your looks. And if you don't get validation from your people, then you will go to any lengths to get it. And it comes in the form of some horrible things.
Yes. And like I was saying when we were talking off, it may have stemmed from that stereotype, which all stereotypes bear some truth with, or they would be stereotypes, is probably where they get the stereotype that darker skinned women will do almost anything, because maybe back in the day, because light-skinned women were so preferred and held up as this trophy, that black women, the darker women who had the boyfriends, probably was like, okay, it's got the other things that I have to do to keep him. So they resorted to all types of different things. So now men, of course, they spread that and spread it to their homeboys or whoever. Like, you know what? If you get with a dark-skinned girl, you may be on the outside flossing with a light-skinned girl, but a dark-skinned girl will put it down in the bedroom.
She'll do all types of shit for you. And too, even if it's not a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, you may just see girls who are whoring themselves out and seeking that man, hoping that, the shit will land and, you'll find a man out of it. But you going through extra lengths to, not that, I mean, of course, there's whores in all complexions, but, I can see how that would result from that negative mindset where you're just like, especially, and then you add in other shit. Let's add in an absentee father, and that's another problem we have in our community. So if you have no positive male figures to make you feel valuable, because, having that father, that's the first man who you get your validation from. So if you don't have that, and maybe you have a mother who's good or she's not, or maybe she has her own complexes, and then you go out in the streets and now you're hearing this shit about you're not good enough or you're not thing, and now, you might feel like only thing I have to offer is, my goods in between my legs. So this is what I'm going to do until it works for me. And now you have a reputation, or now you got kids, or, it's just so sad. Oh, one other thing that stood out to me, and I don't know if this was in light skin or dark skin. Oh, and I think it was in the dark skin part I saw, where the girl said that, two parts. This dark skin girl said she went to go see her friend. Her friend had just had a baby, and she's looking, the baby's beautiful, this and the other. And her best friend, looked at the baby and said, "Oh yes, thank you so much." She's like, "I just hope she doesn't get any darker." Yeah,
I saw that part.
And the girl was crying.
That was the end of dark. That was towards the end. That's that part of the end of dark. Girl.
And that girl was literally crying. That was a grown woman telling that story. I mean, and how insensitive that your friend would say that in front of you. Like, that's just to show you how real it is.
And they don't even realize that she probably thought she was the girl was gonna agree or probably feel the same way.
It's terrible. Or you hear that, she's got she's pretty for a dark girl. Or,
and like those two guys said in the light girl thing is, if she's dark, she has to have the other qualities and other features that's going to make up for the fact that she's not light.
And then too, in this day and age, we see this, and you see this on these reality shows all the time, where you look at some sisters, some dark-skinned sisters. I mean, all women are all into their looks these days, but you'll see some of these women who, with the weave and the makeup and the the augmenting of the body, or doing all types of shit to make up for, to compensate. And I'm not saying they're all doing it, but there may be some of that going on. So,
you could sometimes tell that they're deliberately doing that because they know that they feel like they don't measure up.
Yeah.
And when you don't measure up, you're going to seek out and do whatever you want if you're weak enough to fall into the thing, especially when they went on the media, the media segment of the whole light skin, dark skin thing in terms of the media in general. It's white Anglo-Saxon things. And also when I think it was Mr. J, when they were like, how do you feel about Peter
that was good.
And he goes, she's pretty now, but she'll have her moment. And I so believe him. He was so right. She will have her moment. They will celebrate her as they are celebrating her for now. Term. But they will go right back to the business as usual, selling products to the majority of people that want to look more white, more European. And that goes for white girls who don't feel like their dark hair or their dark curly hair or their redheaded hair is enough. So everybody's going to go blonde, and everybody, wants to look as light as possible. I think it's less of a struggle for them because it's not much further to go. It's a further leap to go from someone of African American descent, or even any kind of African descent. If you're really you come from a country that you are really dark or whatever the case may be, then they say that you have like the skin bleaching and stuff like that. So I mean, again, I don't cry too much for the brunettes. I'm sure they have their own struggles, but we're not here to discuss that because their leap is not as far to go. You know what I mean? All they need is a dye for the most part. But it's
now like
because you see black women with the hair that's like on their waist. It's what do you call it, Brazilian? It's just ridiculous.
Well, see, I think what makes it so bad now is because now they have the resources to really take it there. Now because of weaves and all this other shit, like, and contacts, like these bitches can really come out in the street with hazel contacts. And the contouring that, makes people look lighter and narrows the nose and the cheekbones and the weave, like you said, the texture of the weaves, because it's like the bone straight hair, the blonde hair, things that don't look right because they're not supposed to look right on you, but they go hard.
Full-lipped, thick-ass woman that is like, that's not even coming out your hair, and what is that,
And another sad thing is that we are such sheep that once the mainstream media decides something is in vogue, we accept, like, now that lips are in and now that asses are in, it's like now we're on board with it, when we've always had these things, but people would hide them, be ashamed of them, do things to play them down because they didn't accept it. But now that they accept it, now chicks is going on, black girls too, now I want a bigger ass, now I want to inject my lips, now I want to do all these things that you had the opportunity to do before, but you didn't want to do it because they weren't accepting it.
And also that you were playing your other sisters out for having it.
Yes.
Because people was commenting, for a very long time, it's so funny, for when I was growing up, girls that had smaller lips than me was like, oh, you have big lips, and mine is not big compared to a whole lot of the girls that have big lips. But you let someone tell it, I thought I had huge lips.
Yeah.
And so there are times I would smile and try and kind of, thin it out so I'm not made fun of. And now the same girls that probably are making fun of, that were making fun of me and probably other women, they're probably getting their lips injected.
Yes.
And mine is by no means, mine is normal.
Yeah.
But, like you said, when you get made fun of, you never think. You just really believe, what people tell you. Because I went years after being made fun of like lining my lips or more on the inside.
Really, friend? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it wasn't until I was dating Kevin when he would look at me and be like, well, why are you lining it there? And I was like, well, that's how you line a lip. And in my mind, I would get angry at him. But in my mind, I was like, it's, I knew why I was, but I was like, that you don't know nothing about how we put on our makeup. But I was like, that's where you line it. That's where you start the line.
Yeah.
And it's the ridiculous thing that now people are lining now they're getting lips. And mine is, like I said, there are people that have bigger lips than me.
And these bitches, like one of those Kardashian little girls, is going and lining, drawing outside of her lips to make them look bigger.
Crazy.
The irony. The absolute irony of it.
Yeah. But, it's one of those things that when people do a number on you, they just do a number on you. That and my nose were always the two things that I always obsessed about. Yeah. And just slowly but surely, thank God, I started to, I let the lips go a bit ago, like when I was in my 20s. I go back and forth with the nose so often, but I'm not as obsessed with it, I guess, because I'm out here living in LA and it makes me look different than what's going on out here. But for a very long time, those were the two things.
Sorry, we had some technical difficulties. Yeah, it's just so sad that, the things that we have to, we go through our whole life holding on to, all because of the comments of one or two or three or four people that, that stick with you. Because I think we're all insecure. I mean, I was reading something the other day with Meryl Streep, who's a phenomenal actress. She's got so much accolades, and I think she's beautiful. And, she said there's not a day goes by that she doesn't think she's good enough, or something along those lines, or that she's not insecure, or something to that effect. And I was just like, Meryl Streep,
right? They got there's almost all the jokes is about how God, she's like an Oprah.
Yeah, she is really it when it comes to acting. Like, if you could just be a tenth of, you could have a tenth of her talent, you would be ahead of everybody else. But even her, because she's human and she's a woman, and we all have our insecurities, and that's human nature. So we're already born with insecurities, and then when you get somebody to come in and say some shit, even if they say it as a joke, it's like, damn, I used to be one of the tallest girls everywhere I went. And for years, my posture wasn't good. And it was because I was hunching my shoulders over trying not to be so tall.
Right.
And now, people wearing 5 and 6 inch heels.
Oh, girl, yeah.
To beat platforms and shit.
Like kitten heels now.
Yeah, everybody's walking around, on stilts to be taller. And that's something that I was born with and didn't accept it because my circle was not as tall as I was. And, we live with these things, and it's just it's horrible that, but that's just kind of human nature. I have to ask you a question, though. There was one part where somebody was talking about what they say to their children about colorism and how they need to act in this world because of colorism. And I think it was somebody saying to their child, you're dark skinned, so people are going to say X, Y, and Z to you, or you're light skinned, so people may treat you this way, so you have to do this and that to counteract it. Do you think that it's wise for a parent to coach their child on how to deal with this? Or do you think that that's perpetuating the fact that it is a problem?
Yeah, I think it's perpetuating the fact that it is a problem. I think we should teach as much our kids being just individuals, accept their features, and accept others' differences as well. So to say that, to prep them on something is it's almost like sending them out the world looking for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Almost like the minute it happens, then they know, instead of, even if it happens and they are confused by it or have questions, then you can kind of say, well, that person is whatever, and, you don't pay them no mind, and you just still keep being you. Just like the girl said, her father said, you're beautiful the way you are. You're just as black as you need to be. All that stuff like that. That's how you counteract that. You don't send them with preconceived notes out into the world.
But is that along the same lines of, and this is just me switching gears a little bit, do you think as a black mother to coach your son on how to deal with the police is something that should be done? Or is that looking for it too?
You coach them how to be decent in the world. You coach them how to be respectful.
Okay.
There's nobody that, no black person that's ever, they're all going to get confronted. Obama was probably coached to be a decent, upstanding, law-abiding citizen. Colin Powell, what's the other? Eric Holder. All those men were taught first to be great and respectful men, which is why they didn't get into that.
Okay.
They weren't taught to be brace yourself because, they don't like the black men, blah, blah, blah.
So it's more about just being being respectable.
How your essence is essential is going to buffer any adversity that you're going to come through.
Good point. That's true. It's a one-size-fits-all skill.
Say it again?
It's like a one-size-fits-all skill.
Yeah. If you're good, decent, you're not doing anything wrong. Yeah, there's bad things that happen to good people, but for the most part, it's an exception to the rule that bad things happen to good people. It's very rare in terms of like crime and stuff like that. Yeah. Usually, if because when you're a good person, you surround yourself by good people already. You're in the right environment already. It's very rare that you're going to find yourself in some sort of low down. You know what I'm saying?
That kind of situation.
It just comes hand in hand.
Yeah, because if your tools, if your default is to be respectful, to do the right thing, and all of the other stuff, you might come across some fucked up people, but that'll be the exception and not the rule.
Yeah, you're not going to always. Yeah, it's not going to always come your way. Those environments only gravitate to people that are the way they are. And they get into that problem and they handle it in the same way, and they surround themselves with people that handle it the same way, and so that begets that, and it's a domino effect of that.
True. Okay. So those are two different examples then.
Yeah, I think those people that are doing that are coming from a place of defense, and if they were really doing what they were supposed to do, or teaching the right tools for their kids wouldn't run into all those things.
So you think... Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So do you think that if you had a daughter, say you had a daughter who was really dark-skinned, right? Very coarse hair, very Afrocentric features, right? Is there any way there would be no coaching, there would not be anything you would say to her to maybe prepare her for what she might encounter, if you know that there's a likelihood she'll encounter it?
I mean, if I'm teaching her to love the way she is and the way who she is, then she'll probably encounter it, but she'll encounter it and come from a place of what she knows, of love. And I love myself, and it may hurt my feelings for a while or for that instant. But her validation of reinforcement, if she comes back to me or whomever, her family home, will buffer that. We'll be like, then they are stupid for saying that. That one girl, you know what I mean?
That's a great answer. I like that.
Yeah, she's not going to come. It's not going to affect her as much if she has it. If she knows
who she is, and
love already, of loving who she is already.
That's
she's probably not gonna. She's not gonna. When she gets to insult, it's gonna be foreign to her. She's gonna be like, oh my god, why would she say something like that? You know what I mean?
She won't be expecting it. Like, oh, here we go. This chick's about to say some shit to me. My mom told me this bitch would come.
Yeah, and her reaction to it, the girl might be like, oh wow, she wasn't even mad. She's actually more surprised that I said it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because she'll come from that place of, I don't know why she would say something like that, because all my life my mother told me, or whoever, my mother, my father, my grandfather, whatever, told me I was fine the way I was.
Good answer.
This one stupid chick coming around talking about I'm ugly. No, seriously.
That's
and
true.
She might question it, but it won't be a real thing of her, because she didn't hear it anywhere else.
That's true. And you know what that kind of makes me think of? And you can probably refer to this better because you're West Indian, but like, I think that's part of why a lot of West Indians are so confident, because if you come from a culture where you're not the minority, you're used to being, everybody around you looks like you. You're used to seeing your people in high positions of power. You're used to seeing your people who have money, who, whatever. So when you come to America and you're being treated differently, it's almost like, who the fuck you think you are? Like, I'm not less than you, because that's not part of your history. Whereas in America, it's some of Americans cower down, like, here come that shit, or I better not do this because they're going to do that to me. The slavery and the civil rights movement is so fresh in their mind, and it's been, you've been warned so much that, the white man's out to get you, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, A, you kind of looking for it, and B, you expect it. And it's just like we said, when you expect, you do receive. And but other cultures, it's foreign to them, so they can't wrap their mind around it.
I think our culture comes from a place of abundance in terms of self-esteem and fullness. So it's hard to wrap our minds around being
anything less than that.
Yeah, like my mom used to always say. She says that it seems like the most cantankerous slaves were dropped off in the West Indies, because that whole freedom and fighting for it came from like Haiti to Jamaica. I think that it started a bit in Jamaica, and then they fled to Haiti because they were kind of like not getting enough support by the slaves of the West Indies at that time. So they fled. Some of the Jamaicans fled to Haiti and banded with the Haitians to get their independence first, and then they came back to Jamaica. So it's one of those things where they fought so much and they had that independence, and like you said, they ran the white face out of that country where it was just mostly black people anyway, and anybody that was coming in were going to work under our terms and mixing with our people anyway. So it's like white people and Chinese people and Indian people that who came to the West Indies really wanted to be there because they wanted to work and kind of like melt with the culture. It wasn't a thing where they were going to go in and infiltrate and take over at that point. So I think when West Indians come to the United States, that kind of foreign kind of like being subservient is kind of like, what? So it's kind of like they're more bold with it. And that's why a lot of unattractive, no matter if you got like 10 slices on your face, that kind of, and what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Say something.
I'm almost as blown away by some of them that like, really? Because they have no fear. There's no fear of, at least it doesn't see, even when I come back, I don't see there's less insecurity. Yeah. You know, we are all insecure about some things, but there's certain things that Jamaican people are not insecure about. And the way they look and what they can do ain't one of them. They may be insecure about other things that I don't know, I'm sure. Yeah. But those two things are very few that you can find that a West Indian person's going to be like, I don't look good. Yeah. And even if they know they don't look good, they will tell you they don't look good, but
they're still confident
this anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I don't look good, but this is what I'm going to do anyway with this look.
Yeah. And then that confidence, and when you exude confidence, people start to buy in.
Yeah.
And they start to believe, oh, the bitch does look kind of good.
I mean, that's
yeah, it's kind of sexy. It's kind of sexy. I don't know. I could work with that. All right, let's stop on this note. I do have, look at me, I'm just like interviewing you because I have another question, just another thought-provoking thing, and I'm going to start in the next segment, okay?